Somewhere deep in a hidden forest, a waterfall towers 100 meters high, roaring like a wall of nature itself. Legends say no one has seen behind it for centuries, until four friends decide to take the ultimate risk. Armed with ropes, cameras, and determination, Alex, Ryan, Jake, and Liam enter a cave hidden behind the falling water. A place full of ancient secrets, mysterious carvings, and treasures the jungle has fiercely protected. What they find inside will change everything they thought they knew about adventure, history, and the power of nature. Hello, everyone. Before we start, join our YouTube family by subscribing. Don't forget to like this video and tell me in the comments where you're watching from and what time it is. Now, let's get into the story. Deep in the heart of an untouched, sprawling forest, a place where sunlight barely touched the thick carpet of leaves and vines, four friends were preparing for an adventure unlike any they had ever experienced. Alex, Ryan, Jake, and Liam had always been drawn to mysteries hidden in nature. From abandoned towns to hidden caves, they had explored it all. Yet nothing could prepare them for the legend they had chased for months. A waterfall so massive that locals described it as a roaring giant of the forest, at least 100 meters tall, hiding secrets that no human had uncovered for decades. The forest was alive in a way that felt almost conscious. Every step was met with the crunch of wet leaves underfoot, the occasional snap of a twig echoing like a distant drum, and the constant hum of insects and wildlife. Moss-covered trees towered above them, their trunks thick and twisted, some of them so old and large that a man could not wrap his arms around them even if he tried. Sunlight pierced through in thin, golden beams, highlighting patches of the forest floor in an ethereal glow. Mist hung low in some areas, and the air was heavy with the smell of damp earth and blooming flora. It was beautiful, it was intimidating, and it promised danger in equal measure. Alex led the group with his usual confidence, carrying a sturdy backpack filled with climbing gear, ropes, food, and extra water bottles. His camera hung around his neck, ready to capture every moment. Ryan was the navigator, a detail-oriented planner who had studied satellite images, old maps, and local guide stories to chart the safest route through the dense wilderness. Jake, the most adventurous of the group, carried extra gear and climbing ropes, ready to tackle the steepest rocks and slippery paths without hesitation. Liam, always observant, kept a watchful eye on the forest, noting unusual sounds and movements that might indicate both danger and discovery. Together, they formed a cohesive team, each relying on the other's strengths to face whatever the forest might throw at them. The journey toward the waterfall had been grueling. They had trekked through thick mud, crossed shallow streams with hidden rocks, climbed steep ridges, and ducked under dense branches. Each step forward was physically exhausting, yet the anticipation of the waterfall kept them going. Every now and then, they would pause to admire the massive trees and the sheer, untouched beauty around them. Some trees were so tall and wide that they seemed like natural skyscrapers, their branches forming thick roofs high above, and the sunlight that managed to filter through created a mosaic of green and gold on the forest floor. After hours of trekking, they began to hear it, a low rumble in the distance. growing steadily louder with each step. Mist began to appear, hanging in the air like a living cloud. The sound was almost hypnotic, a constant, deep roar that vibrated through their chests and made their heartbeats quicken as they approached a clearing. The first glimpse of the waterfall appeared through the dense greenery. Even from a distance, it was enormous, water cascading down from an unimaginable height, crashing into a wide, frothing pool below. Rainbows formed in the mist where the sunlight hit, creating an almost magical aura around the giant waterfall. The friends stopped to take it all in. The sight was breathtaking, almost surreal. They had read descriptions, seen old photographs, and studied satellite imagery, but nothing prepared them for the sheer scale and force of the waterfall. Mist clung to their faces. The sound of rushing water filled the air, and the pool below shimmered with countless droplets catching the light. Alex raised his camera and began filming immediately, capturing wide shots of the waterfall while Jake and Liam scouted the edges for safe paths closer to the base. Ryan, scanning the terrain, spotted what appeared to be a narrow entrance partially hidden behind the sheet of falling water. "Look over there," Ryan called out, pointing toward a dark opening. "That has to be a cave or some hidden chamber behind the waterfall. Maybe that's where the secrets are." Jake's eyes sparkled with excitement. "We came all this way for this exact moment. Let's find out what's hiding back there." Liam, cautious but eager, checked the surrounding area for stability. The rocks were slick from constant mist, covered in moss and algae. One wrong step could send a person tumbling into the frothy pool below. He called the others over and began assessing anchor points for their ropes. Safety was paramount, but the lure of discovering what lay behind the waterfall was irresistible. The four friends slowly made their way down a narrow rocky path toward the base. The roar of the water grew deafening, but somehow it didn't drown out the sounds of their own movements. Each step was deliberate, each handhold carefully tested. Mist blurred their vision, clinging to their skin and making the air cool and damp. When they finally reached a stable area at the foot of the waterfall, they paused to catch their breath and take in the full spectacle. The waterfall was not just tall, it was monumental. A vertical river of water, crashing down with immense force into a pool that seemed impossibly deep. The sheer power of it made them feel small, almost insignificant, yet exhilarated at standing so close to something so raw and untouched. Alex looked toward the cave opening behind the water, partially obscured by the mist. "We go in together," he said firmly, slow and careful. "Document everything." Ryan tied off the rope to a sturdy tree, testing it multiple times. Jake secured the harness and motioned for Liam to do the same. With everything checked and double-checked, the four friends approached the misty curtain of water. The air was cool and damp, and droplets stung their skin as they stepped closer to the cascading sheet. Slowly, they entered the narrow opening behind the waterfall, and the sound of rushing water became a deafening roar around them. But the cave inside was astonishing. Darkness enveloped them, but their flashlights illuminated walls covered in strange markings, unusual rock formations, and shallow pools reflecting the falling water like mirrors. The friends moved cautiously, their excitement tempered by awe and a healthy respect for the unknown. Every corner of the cave seemed to promise discovery, old carvings on stones that might be centuries old, tiny alcoves that seemed to have been used for rituals or storage long ago, and natural formations that looked almost intentional. Alex filmed everything, narrating softly to capture their reactions and observations. Ryan took careful notes, sketching rough maps of the passages they discovered. Jake and Liam tested the walls and floors for stability, marking areas that were too slippery or fragile. Time seemed to stretch as they explored deeper into the cave. The roar of the waterfall outside provided a constant soundtrack, almost like a heartbeat for the hidden chamber. Mist and droplets hung in the air, catching the light from their flashlights, creating a shimmering, almost magical atmosphere. The cave's interior was larger than any of them had expected, with multiple branching paths, hidden alcoves, and unexpected chambers. Small pools of water collected in natural basins, their surfaces reflecting the faint light, making it feel as if the cave itself was alive. As they progressed, the friends felt a mix of excitement, fear, and wonder. They were uncovering something no human had seen for decades, possibly centuries. Every marking on the walls, every unusual rock formation, seemed to whisper secrets from the past. The forest outside was still and dense, but inside the cave, time felt suspended. Every step brought them closer to understanding the waterfall's hidden mysteries. Yet each discovery hinted at even greater secrets lying just beyond their reach. By the end of the day, Alex, Ryan, Jake, and Liam had explored multiple chambers, documented every marking, and mapped several passages. They had found small artifacts, smooth stones shaped in patterns, remnants of old carvings, and signs that people or civilizations had been here long before them. The cave was more than a natural wonder. It was a repository of history, mystery, and secrets preserved by the jungle and the waterfall for generations. Exhausted but exhilarated, the four friends decided to camp inside a larger chamber, knowing that tomorrow they would uncover even more secrets hidden behind the colossal 100-meter waterfall. The first light of morning filtered through the mist outside the waterfall, casting faint glimmers on the cave walls. Alex, Ryan, Jake, and Liam woke to the sound of water crashing relentlessly behind the curtain of the waterfall. Every drop seemed amplified in the echoing chamber, bouncing off the stone walls in a symphony of raw natural power. Despite being tired from the previous day's trek and initial exploration, a sense of anticipation filled the air. They all knew that the deeper parts of the cave might hold the most incredible secrets. Alex, always eager to document, immediately began filming. "We need to capture every step," he said. "No one will believe this otherwise." He swept his camera across the chamber, capturing the mist, the rough stone walls, and the faint glimmers of light reflecting off small water pools. Ryan, consulting his notebook, double-checked the cave maps they had sketched the day before. He compared marks on the walls to the patterns he had observed, noting potential paths that could lead further inward. Jake and Liam were already prepping climbing gear, ropes, carabiners, and harnesses to navigate some of the vertical stone formations deeper in the cave. The cave's interior was larger than any of them had imagined. What seemed like a narrow tunnel from the waterfall's entrance opened into multiple chambers, each with its own unique features. One room had stalactites hanging like jagged teeth, dripping slowly into small crystal-clear pools. Another chamber contained unusual rock formations that resembled natural sculptures, eroded in ways that hinted at centuries of water flow. Alex shined his flashlight across one wall, and the beam revealed faint carvings, geometric in design, that could not have been made by random erosion. The friends exchanged excited glances. They were on the verge of discovering something extraordinary. Liam carefully tested the floor near a shallow pool. The water was freezing and surprisingly deep for such a small basin. "Be careful," he warned. "One wrong step and we could slip or fall in. Some of these pools are deeper than they appear." Jake nodded, tying off a rope around a sturdy stalagmite, ready to help anyone crossing treacherous areas. Ryan began photographing the carvings, noting their shapes, angles, and patterns. "These might be markings from an ancient civilization," he said, "or some kind of ritualistic signs. Either way, they're deliberate, not natural." The friends moved slowly, balancing caution with curiosity. Every chamber seemed to lead to another, and every passage had unique challenges: slippery ledges, narrow gaps, and sudden drops. At one point, Alex spotted a faint glimmer at the base of a rocky slope. "Look over there," he called. "Something shiny." They approached carefully and discovered small stone artifacts, smooth and worn, arranged in a pattern. Some stones were etched with symbols similar to the wall carvings, while others seemed purely decorative. "This can't be random," Jake murmured. "Someone deliberately placed these here." Liam added, "It's like they wanted someone to find them, but only someone willing to go this far." The four exchanged looks, a mix of awe and trepidation. As they continued, the cave became increasingly narrow. The sound of the waterfall outside was still deafening, but the deeper they went, the more surreal the environment became. Pools of water reflected their flashlights in eerie patterns, and small streams trickled along the walls. The air was damp, but a faint, earthy scent suggested the cave was older than any living memory. Alex stopped to film a small alcove, where water had carved a miniature basin in the stone. The light from his flashlight danced on the rippling water, creating reflections that made the walls appear alive. Hours passed, and the friends had discovered multiple chambers, each revealing more artifacts and carvings. Ryan noted that some markings resembled maps, with lines and symbols suggesting water flow, elevations, or pathways. "I think this cave was used for more than just shelter or ritual," he said. "It could be a guide, maybe to a hidden chamber behind the waterfall that very few have ever seen." Encouraged by this thought, they pushed further. A narrow passage led to a vertical drop of several meters, slick with moss and dripping water. Jake tied off the rope, testing the anchor point multiple times. Liam carefully descended first, followed by Ryan, Alex, and finally Jake. At the bottom, they found a hidden chamber that seemed untouched for centuries. The walls were covered in markings, some faded, some remarkably clear, and the floor was littered with small artifacts, carved stones, pottery shards, and what appeared to be remnants of old tools. This is incredible," Alex whispered, filming every angle. "It's like no one has been here for hundreds of years." Ryan examined the carvings closely. "The patterns are consistent with what we saw earlier, but these are more elaborate. Could this have been a ceremonial space? Or a storage place for something valuable?" Jake carefully picked up a small stone tool, examining it. "It's functional, but also decorative. Whoever used this cave clearly had skills. Maybe they lived here. Maybe they used it for rituals. We don't know yet." Liam noticed a faint trail of water, leading to a small opening partially hidden by rocks. "There's something further," he said. "It could be another passage, maybe leading behind the waterfall itself." Excited but cautious, they followed the trail, squeezing through tight spaces and stepping carefully over slippery rocks. As they approached the opening, the roar of the waterfall intensified, echoing through the narrow passage. Mist began to seep in, and droplets clung to their clothes and hair. When they finally emerged, they were astonished. The opening led to a hidden chamber directly behind the waterfall. Sunlight filtered through the falling water, illuminating the interior in a dazzling display of light and color. Pools reflected the cascading water, creating miniature rainbows in every direction. The friends paused, taking in the sight. They had discovered the heart of the waterfall, a secret space the forest had kept hidden for centuries. Alex filmed the scene, narrating softly. This is the real secret," he said. "The waterfall isn't just natural beauty. It's guarding something extraordinary. We're the first people in decades, maybe centuries, to see this." Ryan carefully mapped the area, noting the locations of artifacts and natural features. Jake and Liam explored the edges, finding small alcoves and recesses carved by water over centuries. Every detail seemed deliberate, as if nature itself had created this hidden chamber with care. As they explored, they felt a growing connection to the history of the place. The artifacts, carvings, and natural formations told a story of skill, devotion, and mystery. They were uncovering secrets the forest had protected for generations, secrets that few humans would ever witness. Despite the exhaustion, adrenaline, and occasional fear of slipping or falling, the friends pressed on, documenting everything. Every step deeper into the cave reinforced the sense that this waterfall was more than just a natural wonder. It was a guardian of history, a living monument to the jungle's hidden past. By the end of the day, Alex, Ryan, Jake, and Liam had mapped the main chambers behind the waterfall, documented all visible artifacts, and discovered potential pathways for future exploration. The cave was vast, full of mysteries, and yet welcoming to those who approached with care and respect. As they prepared to rest, they knew tomorrow would bring even more discoveries. The waterfall, majestic and colossal at 100 meters, stood as both a natural spectacle and a keeper of secrets, waiting for those brave enough to explore its hidden depths. The morning mist clung to their clothes as Alex, Ryan, Jake, and Liam prepared to explore the deepest parts of the hidden chamber behind the 100-meter waterfall. The previous day had revealed multiple alcoves, carved stones, and pools of water shimmering with reflected light. But they all knew the heart of the waterfall held the most extraordinary secrets. Their excitement was tinged with caution. Each of them had felt the cave's power and mystery, the feeling that every echo, every droplet, and every shadow might be part of something much larger than themselves. Alex adjusted his camera strap, checking the battery and storage. "We have to make this count," he said, scanning the chamber. "We're literally standing in a place no one has seen for centuries. Every shot matters." Ryan consulted his notebook, tracing the paths they had mapped yesterday, marking potential routes to deeper recesses. Liam and Jake were already testing footholds. Along a narrow ledge leading to a smaller, inner chamber, their ropes taut against the damp stone. The roar of the waterfall behind them created a constant backdrop, amplifying the sense of isolation and awe. Carefully, they descended into the inner chamber, which was smaller but astonishingly preserved. The walls bore carvings more intricate than any they had seen, geometric patterns, spirals, and shapes resembling stars, rivers, and animals. Small alcoves held artifacts, polished stones, fragments of pottery, and tiny tools, all arranged as if someone had deliberately placed them centuries ago. The friends realized that this was not just a natural cave, it had been a deliberate space, a hidden sanctuary, or perhaps even a ritual site used by an ancient culture. The scale of the carvings, the precision of the placements, and the natural acoustics all suggested a knowledge of both art and engineering far beyond what they had expected in such a remote forest. Liam ran his hand along a series of carvings, depicting what appeared to be waterways and waterfalls. "Look at this," he said. "It almost maps the entire river system. Maybe this cave was a guide, or a sanctuary for people who understood the jungle's paths. Whoever made this knew exactly how to manipulate the space." Jake, crouched over a small pool, discovered a shallow depression in the stone filled with smooth, polished pebbles. "These were arranged intentionally," he said. "I've seen similar things in archaeological studies. Objects like this often marked rituals or important locations." Alex filmed everything, narrating softly as his flashlight illuminated the shimmering walls. "We're documenting a lost chapter of history here," he whispered. "These carvings, the artifacts, the natural formations, they're all telling a story. The waterfall wasn't just a spectacle. It was a guardian of knowledge, a protector of secrets that someone, somewhere, wanted to preserve for generations." As they moved deeper, Ryan noticed a faint trail leading to a concealed recess behind a large stone slab. "There's something else here," he said. Carefully, they shifted the heavy stone just enough to reveal a narrow opening. Mist from the waterfall swirled into the chamber, and sunlight filtering through the falling water created refracted beams that illuminated dust motes and sparkling droplets. The inner recess was small, but rich in detail. Artifacts arranged meticulously, carvings extending across the walls, and what appeared to be a small, shallow basin filled with crystalline water. "This is it," Liam said, awe evident in his voice. "This must be the core of the secret, the center of everything hidden behind the waterfall." Jake crouched and ran his fingers over a carved symbol that looked like a sunburst. "Everything points here. Look at the patterns, the paths, the carvings, even the arrangement of stones. They converge on this spot." Alex adjusted his camera for a close-up, capturing the details of the basin and surrounding carvings, each line and mark highlighted by the ambient light filtering through the mist. For hours, the four friends documented and explored every inch of the hidden recess. They carefully handled the artifacts, photographing and mapping each one. Liam noticed that the water in the basin was unusually clear, reflecting the carvings and light in ways that almost seemed to animate the symbols. Ryan suggested that the water might have held ceremonial or symbolic significance, possibly used in rituals tied to the waterfall itself. Jake experimented with the arrangement of small stones, trying to replicate patterns seen elsewhere in the cave, and discovered subtle connections between the carvings and the natural flow of water through the cave chambers. As the day progressed, the friends realized that the waterfall's secrets were layered, both physically and metaphorically. The outer chambers contained general carvings and minor artifacts, while the deeper inner chambers housed the most deliberate and significant arrangements. It became clear that whoever had created this hidden sanctuary intended for it to remain a secret, only discoverable by those willing to navigate the treacherous paths and immerse themselves fully in the cave's environment. The jungle, the waterfall, and the cave had combined to create a natural protective barrier around these ancient secrets. Fatigue began to set in as they explored the final recesses of the chamber. Yet each discovery reinvigorated their spirits. Small tools with precise engravings, tiny carved figurines, and inscriptions suggesting a sophisticated understanding of geometry and natural forces. The friends marveled at how the creators had seamlessly combined natural formations with man-made elements, using the force and mist of the waterfall to enhance both the beauty and secrecy of the space. It was as if nature itself had conspired with human skill to create a sanctuary untouched by time. As evening approached, they carefully began to retrace their steps, mindful of the slippery rocks and the deafening roar of the waterfall. Each friend carried part of the documentation, ensuring that no detail was lost. The cave had revealed its greatest secrets, yet still hinted at more beyond the reach of their light and energy. Emerging from behind the waterfall into the fading sunlight, they paused to breathe in the jungle air, feeling a profound sense of accomplishment and awe. Alex captured a wide-angle shot of the entire waterfall, now from the inside out, mist swirling around the friends as they stood at the base. "We did it," he said, his voice barely audible over the roar. "We've seen what no one else has in centuries." Ryan nodded, clutching his notebook, filled with sketches, maps, and notes. Jake and Liam exchanged smiles, the exhaustion in their muscles outweighed by the thrill of discovery. They had not only explored a natural wonder, but had also uncovered secrets, carefully guarded for generations. The journey back to the forest edge was slow and careful. The friends moved with heightened awareness, every sound and shadow scrutinized as they navigated the dense undergrowth. Yet the sense of wonder persisted. The waterfall, colossal at 100 meters, had been more than a natural marvel. It had been a living archive, a guardian of mysteries waiting for those brave enough to approach. By the time they reached the safety of the forest perimeter, the sun was dipping low, casting long shadows but still illuminating the dense jungle. They paused to reflect on their experience. Alex reviewed his footage. Ryan cross-checked notes and sketches. Jake and Liam examined photos and artifacts they had documented. Together, they realized that they had witnessed a story that blended history, nature, and human ingenuity in a way few would ever comprehend. The four friends left the forest that evening, carrying not only cameras, notebooks, and memories, but also a profound connection to the waterfall and the secrets it protected. They knew that their adventure would remain etched in their minds forever. A rare and humbling reminder of nature's power, human curiosity, and the mysteries that wait patiently, hidden in the heart of the world.